Hello everybody, my name is Adam and we are back in Planet Zoo today where I will be creating a modern style habitat for the spectacled caiman. And of course for any modern habitat I started off with some good old glass panels to give that modern look. And if you're building anything modern, honestly just start off with glass panels and it'll probably come out looking pretty modern and pretty decent. Started with this like kind of half circle of glass panels just rotating on 15 degrees so I can get the half circle, duplicated them over, took a couple out, and then it was time to create kind of like the foundation, so to speak, of this modern style habitat. So I added the flooring in where our path are going to go underneath and the actual outline of the habitat itself. And then it was time to create some lovely support beams, again going with that modern theme, to support this glass overhang, a bit like a glass sheltered area for our animals, but also kind of like a glass sheltered area for our guest away from the rain. Once that was complete, it was time to then move on to the actual building up the foundation of the actual habitat itself and where our lovely caimans can go for a little bit of peace and out of view of our guests. I do end up building kind of like a little bit of a backstage area as well, with, you know, mesh pieces and making everything look a little bit more realistic, which you will see towards the video, I believe. And yeah, just finishing off this little bit on the front here, getting that main building, that main structure set up ready for our spectacled caimans, and then moving on to the roof, which was a bit tricky, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really know how I wanted it to come out looking, but I went with these like white wooden pieces and then added some glass pieces. Again, like I said at the start of the video, if you want to build anything modern, just add a load of glass and it seems to look quite well, as these lovely wood pieces and this colouring as well. It ends up coming looking out exactly how I wanted it to come out looking. But let's talk a little bit about the spectacled caimans themselves. Now these caimans can grow quite large. They grow to the length of between 1.4 and 2.5 meters, which in feet, if you work in feet, is 4.6 foot to 8.2 foot, and the weight of 70 to 40 kilograms, which is 15 to 88 pounds, with males being both longer and heavier than females, which is quite interesting. Its diets vary seasonally and commonly consisting of carbs, fish, mammals and snails. Breeding occurs, can't get my words out today. Breeding occurs from May to August, and about 14 to 40 eggs, so that's quite a big difference actually. From 14 to 40 eggs are laid in July and August. It is native to much of Latin America and has been introduced to the United States, Cuba and Puerto Rico. Now, even though they do sound like they're quite large to us, they're actually considered a small to medium sized crocodilian. And here's quite an interesting fact I've actually just looked up. The spectacled caiman uses 9 different vocalizations and 13 visual displays to communicate with individuals of its species. Both adults and young produce calls for group cohesion. Males are known to communicate by moving their tail to certain positions, such as making it vertical or arch. Juveniles vocalize when in distress, and adult females emit calls to warn you of threats. So if you came into this video knowing nothing about the spectacled caiman, hopefully you just learned a couple of things what you didn't already know. And me building this habitat is actually the last habitat of the wetlands pack for me. So I've built I've built a habitat for every single animal in the Wetlands Animal Pack DLC, which is the newest DLC of Planet Zoo, which you all probably well know. I've completed them all. If you want to look at any of the other habitats I have created, the playlist will be in the description below. If you click on there, you'll see all my Planet Zoo videos, obviously including every habitat for the new Wetlands animals. You can see me just finishing off this glass here. I did use one-way glass to give the caimans a little bit more privacy from the guest. I wanted this habitat to be functional, and I wanted people to be able to download it quite easy as well. So this habitat is going to be on the Steam Workshop. My Steam Workshop page is also down in the description below, so you can download it for yourselves and put it in your own zoos if you wish to do so. And then it was time to go on to the actual inside part of the habitat, what I spoke about earlier, the kind of like the backstage area where our caimans can have some hard shelter and get away from the guests. Obviously I added the good old favourite plaster. Again, that kind of wood, this kind of plaster, that kind of glass, and you've got a modern habitat. So I added loads of this white plaster, and then give it a little slope as well, so the actual caimans, even though they can already get down, even though there isn't a slope, I decided to put a slope in, so it, again, just kind of trying to make it look a little bit more realistic. I know this habitat is a bit far-fetched, and you probably wouldn't see a habitat this modern or like this style in a zoo, so I wanted it to kind of look like it was functional as well, if that makes sense. So that's what I tried to do, add in loads of this this straw, which is obviously bedding. So this is going to be the main sleeping area for the spectacled caimans themselves. Every time I say spectacled caimans, I nearly say spectated caimans. I don't know why, but it nearly all comes out. And you can see me here just adding another level to this inside area here. I wanted to add a little bit of level difference, so our caimans can kind of like crawl up to the top part and get even more of like privacy area, and it can fit more caimans in as well. I'm not too sure how quickly these type of caimans breed, but I have had different caimans in zoos I've had before, and they do kind of breed quite fast and have quite a lot of babies. So I wanted to prepare for that really, and I wanted, again, if you wanted to download this for the Steam Workshop, you will also be prepared for that, and you'll have enough space for all the caimans to happily sleep away in the hard shelter. Adding these mesh pieces again, just giving it that more realistic look and trying to complete that look of the backstage area where our zookeepers can come in. Fast forward a little bit there, and this is how it came out looking in the end. Obviously you can see I've added some rock work. And again, here is the other angle where I added a little horse on the ground and a little eating platform for the caimans. Let's get rid of that and let's work on the outside area now. So we needed a switch for the door. Again, I know I keep saying this, but keeping it more realistic, and an actual sliding door as if it was to be able to mechanically slide up with a press of a button. Giving our zookeepers a little hand, because this door looks like it could be quite heavy, so I needed to add some kind of mechanical mechanism to make it look like it opens that way anyway. And then I went to town with the foliage work and the terrain tool, digging down because they do like water. Just a disclaimer though, if you do download this off the Steam Workshop, they're not very happy with the amount of water they have. I underestimated how much water requirements these caimans would want, and now looking back here, I was stupid to do that. You can see there's not a lot of water I've actually added. They can swim in it, it is accessible and it is traversable, but they're not happy with the depth and they're not happy with the amount of water. But it looks really good. That's my excuse anyway. It does look good, and it does look quite realistic actually, the outside area of it anyway. The viewing area does look quite realistic. So if you are playing in sandbox mode, you know, you can turn certain requirements off, and you know, you can alter the requirements so they are very happy. They are very happy with everything else in the habitat, foliage, blah blah blah. It's just the water they're not very happy with, but space as a whole they do seem quite happy. It's in the green, so to speak, and literally it's in the green on the sliders. Just adding a load more rock work and these lovely rocks, what I tend to use quite a lot because it kind of looks like pebbles, and more rough rock work. That was a bit difficult to say. And then I thought about adding kind of like a little bridge so our caimans can get across. I do end up changing a little bit, but yeah, like I said earlier, it is traversable. They can get across to this little mud patch what I've put here, which is one of the enrichment items. And then again, just adding a little bit of rock work around the edge, and we do end up adding a little bit of foliage. I've already added a little bit, as you can see there, just poking through the rocks. And with that being said, let's fast forward now to real time, where I will take you through how the habitat came out looking in the end. As you can see, our lovely spectacled caimans are in the habitat, and it looks like they're having a little swim, so let's take a closer look, shall we? Here they are, just floating around in their new habitat and looking very spectacled, hence the name. As you can see, the habitat is complete. I am happy with it. I'll just give you a little quick tour of some little changes I made before the last part. So as you can see, this is how it looks in its entirety. Well, the front bit anyway. And we have got Some more foliage. So I've added this lovely big leafy foliage to the left, and the crocodiles, not crocodiles, sorry, the caimans, don't want to get that mistaken, can actually swim underneath that as well for another little bit of privacy. To the right is like a little artificial palm tree, so to speak. Added some underwater foliage, and obviously I added to the right here the habitat education board. That's right, you can actually put the habitat education board inside of the habitat, and the guests will still view it, and it still classes as education in your zoos. So this is a good tip if you don't feel like a habitat education board looks that good on the outside of the habitat that you've created. So it's in there. I've also put it on top of kind of like a structure of lamps. These are red lamps, and they do look good at night. Let's take a quick look inside, shall we? So inside we've got the two little platforms for the caimans to sleep, as I've described while I was creating it. An elevated area and an underneath area. We've got everything on the left hand side what our zookeepers will need, including this lovely little hose, which can be found on the Steam Workshop. I didn't create it. I'll actually leave a link to it in the description below, because it really is quite good. Turning the lights off, you can see we've got normal lights on the outside, all around the edge of the habitat itself, and we've got the red colour lights on the inside. This is what you would normally find in a habitat, especially for caimans, and again, just giving it a more realistic look. As you can see in the foreground there is red lights in the inside part of the habitat as well. Let's turn the sun back on now. God, I love sandbox mode. You can just turn the sun on and off as you please. I hate building in the dark, especially when it's franchised. There's something about building in the dark in franchise mode that really irritates me. But with that being said, that does conclude the end of this video. My name's Adam. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you're new around here, then hit that subscribe button. You might as well smash that like button, new or old, while you are there. Leave me a comment. I'll get back to every comment, and I'll catch you in the next Planet Zoo video.